recused from any further participation in the obstruction of justice part of the case because he's a central witness. They asked him the question, why did you fire Comey? And the obvious answer is because I got a memo from Rosenstein. Why don't you ask him why he wrote me a memo telling me that I can fire Comey? So it seems to me that these questions put a real onus on Rosenstein to recuse himself. Second, they tell me that there's no limitation on the questions. They can ask questions in any areas. And third, plainly, they want to ask him questions that give him an opportunity to ramble on and perhaps give them information they don't have or say things that are contradicted by information they do have.
If the president agrees to the subpoena, you're saying he has the ability to fight it, and you listed the ways that his team could do that. But if he agrees to the subpoena and sits down to these questions, where does this end up?
It ends up in a perjury trap, because that's what Mueller is after. The fact that these guys have managed to go way outside their scope in itself is a problem, because when Rosenstein gave or put Mueller onto this, there should have been a very tight set criteria or what am I going to say? Boundaries on what Mueller is supposed to be investigating. So far, we've seen him go off on IRS issues, bank fraud issues that have nothing to do with the Russian so-called hacking, which you're never going to convince me that Russia hacked the 2016 elections. I don't give a shit what any of these guys are saying. It was Seth Rich that downloaded the stuff, and then Clinton and them guys murdered him for it when they found out. And that's the extent of the Russian collusion in this. So anyway, I think this Dershowitz is on to something, and I would really, really like him to sit down with the president, because I think between him and Giuliani and what's the young guy's name? I can't remember. I did chemo today, so my brain's kind of screwed up, and I could only catch a little bit of this when I was watching television while doing chemo at the same time. But Dershowitz is right. There would be no way that Trump would get in front of a grand jury. I would think you would have to have a crime to get him there to begin with. And they don't have a crime. After 11 months of this fucking dickhead Mueller and Comey for 11 months, and they had nothing. And they still have nothing. They're hoping Trump gets in a room and flaps his lips and gets himself in a perjury trap. That's what these fuckers have planned, is obstruction of justice.
Well, it depends on what he answers. I mean, I think if I were the president's lawyer, and I'm not, let me be very clear about that, I would take advantage of these questions, and I would submit answers in writing to almost all of them, and then make objections to the others based on Article 2 of the Constitution. And then tell the American public, look, I've answered all these questions. Why are they trying to bring me into a grand jury? This interferes with my right to govern. And I think he would be in a better position politically and perhaps even legally if he were to provide answers to the questions. Remember, one of the reasons they want to haul him in front of the grand jury or ask him questions is because they want to see if he's going to lie. This is a perjury trap in some ways. And it's not a proper role of the grand jury to set perjury traps for subjects of criminal prosecutions. The role of the grand jury is to obtain information they don't already have, not to give the subject an opportunity to lie about answers that they do already have.
I want to go back to, initially...
Jay Sekulow is who I was thinking of. He's a real sharp cookie, too. So, anyway, let's listen to the finish of Dershowitz.
The report out that the idea of a subpoena was floated by Mueller in this meeting. John Dowd was there. He was then the president's lead attorney. He apparently retorted, quote, "This isn't some game. You are screwing with the work of the President of the United States." And as we know, Dowd went on to resign as the president's lead lawyer just weeks later.
Yeah, well, I think the reason that it is given for why he resigned, and I understand it, is he gave advice to the president, namely not to willingly testify. And the president said publicly that he wants to testify. And, if you're going to be somebody's lawyer and you're in a trusted relationship, there has to be trust on both sides, and there has to be a willingness to accept the advice of the lawyer.
Counsel, right.
And so I understand why Dowd left the case as his lawyer. And I would think any good lawyer at this point would advise the president to do everything in his power not to testify unless he was compelled by a court to do so.
Each time is up.
Yep, and that's correct. I really like Dershowitz. Even if he is a Democrat, he is a very intelligent and well-articulate lawyer. He reminds me a lot of my lawyer that we had when we fought the county here in Casper over our cars, Harry Bondi. Very, very intelligent, very, very astute in the laws, in the Constitution, and what it means to prize your position as an attorney. This is somebody I would have represent me in anything that I ever went, you know, right up there with my attorney, Harry Bondi. Good lawyers are very, very hard to find. Trial lawyers are even harder to find. Anybody can hang a shingle out on their doorstep, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good at litigating complex issues. And Dershowitz and Harry G. Bondi out of Wyoming are two of the most brilliant lawyers I've ever listened to.
Obviously different, but historically, have other presidents faced subpoenas?
Well, it's interesting that, of course, President Bush never faced a subpoena for pardoning Caspar Weinberger and 5 people on the eve of their trial, even though the special prosecutor in that case said that was part of a cover-up and obstruction of justice, an attempt to end the investigation. But nobody dreamed of subpoenaing the president for that. President Clinton was subpoenaed, but for matters relating more to his alleged sexual activities than for matters of governance. But and, of course, Nixon's tapes were subpoenaed, so we have some precedent on all sides of this issue. But, you know, every case involving a president is different, and it's hard to predict how this Supreme Court would come out if the president refused to answer specific questions that went to his state of mind about why he engaged in acts that are constitutionally authorized under Article 2. I think that would be a very strong, a very plausible argument he could make to the Supreme Court.
I do too. I do too. Very well said. Very well said. With the, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read these questions yet, but some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to do kind of a little answer session of how I would answer some of these questions had they been put to me as President of the United States. First one, what is your knowledge of calls that General Flynn made with former Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak late December 2016? I don't recall. What is your reaction to press accounts January 12th, February 8th, and 9th, 2017? Can you be more specific? And I would ask them, you know, be more specific. What are you talking about? What did you think when, what did you think and what did you know regarding Sally Yates' meeting on January 26th and 27th regarding General Flynn? I don't recall. How was the decision made to request the resignation of General Flynn on February 13th? I think you'd have to ask Vice President Pence on that one. He's the one that brought it to my attention. What was the purpose of the meeting with James Comey on February 14th after the Homeland Security briefing? I wanted to get to know the guy, get a feel for how he was and what he does. What did you say to Comey about General Flynn? I don't recall. What did you think and what did you do about Comey June 8th, 2017 testimony regarding General Flynn? I don't recall. I would, you know, just out of spite, I think I would go. I would pull a Hillary Clinton. I don't recall. I don't remember. And remember, they never put that bitch under oath. And they didn't record it. They barely took notes of it, according to them. FBI, Comey, and McCabe, and all those guys. This thing is so fucking corrupt, it's not even funny. And they think they're going to perpetrate this and get away with it with the American people. And this is why I go back to the same adage. If you vote Democrat, and this November is one of probably almost as important as the last election for the president. We have 33 Democrat congressmen that are up for re-election. We need to take those seats. We need to take half of them at least. So we need to be putting people up there that can win these races and that believe in America, that believe in the Constitution, and believe in what Donald Trump is trying to do for our country. There is no room for Democrats anymore. There's no room for fake Republicans like McCain and Corker and, God, there's so many of them right now. There's only like 7. Rand Paul, always off on his high horse. These people need to be outed and put out of business. Feinstein, Schumer, Sanders, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, all these Democrats that are just blatantly trying to destroy America. They don't care what you think. They don't care how you struggle in your life. All they give a shit about is controlling you. And that's all they want to do is control you. Let's look at a few more of these questions that are just absolutely... describe outreach to Intel chiefs Mike Rogers, Mike Pompeo, and Dan Coats. What do you mean, outreach? Did I talk to them? What did we talk about? What did I say to them? That's executive privilege. You have no right to know what I discussed with my potential cabinet members and my cabinet members. What was the purpose of the outreach on March 22nd, 5th, and 27th? Again, you have no right to ask me about my cabinet members. I tell them go pound sand on a bunch of these. I don't know who wrote these, but it seems like it's a third-year law student because they're not very well articulate. They're open-ended. They're very, very vague. You would have to rattle your brain to try to even understand what the question is about. So this is just like I don't know. It's bullshit. But like Dershowitz said, I'd answer them, but I would answer them executive privilege, executive privilege. I don't recall. I plead the fifth. I wouldn't give this motherfucker the air to breathe, let alone answer these to box me in a corner. That's the first thing a good lawyer will tell you. And President Trump, if I were you, I would not hire anything that's ever remotely been connected to Obama, to the Bushes, or the Clintons. And that includes this new lawyer you're thinking about hiring. You don't think he's going to go back and fucking tell Hillary and Obama and Bushes exactly what you two discussed? Whoever suggested hiring this guy, you need to fire their ass today. And I'm serious. You do not trust anything that comes from the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, the deep state. None of them. None of them. Okay, what discussions did you have during the campaign regarding U.S. sanctions towards Russia? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Who's your source on this? Okay, so that tells you somebody said something about this. So they can discover that through that person. And they don't need to discover this through the president. Because anything that can be spoken about or found out about through another means, they have no right to ask the president to do that. Anyway, where's this other one? Oh, here, this is a good one. What knowledge did you have of communication with or regarding Roger Stone, persons associated with Roger Stone, Julian Assange, or WikiLeaks? He just knows what he read on the fucking internet, you morons. And as far as Roger Stone goes, why don't you release his transcript? You know why? Because Adam Schiff and Jackie Spear out of California told Roger Stone, and this is a fact, that they did get, that the FBI did get a hold of the DNC's servers, and then Comey said they didn't. So who's the fucking liar here? Comey or Adam Schiff and Jackie Spear? So who really looked at the DNC servers? I don't think anybody did. And if they did, they're not going to tell it, because Hillary Clinton and Obama had at least 18 email exchanges, and Obama used a fake name, just like what's-her-face did. Her daughter, Hillary's daughter, used a fake name, and so did evidently Loretta Lynch use a fake name. So who's ever got all the information off of Hillary Clinton's server and John Podesta's servers know what's going on. And those are the people we need to be talking to. Why is it all Trump's people being called up on the carpet every fucking week over a $33,000 dining room set for Carson's office? Or Pruitt going through Elizabeth Warren's pet CFBD thing for banking and all that. Mulvaney's finding out that was a slush fund for the Democrat Party, like Planned Parenthood is, like the Salvation Army is, like a lot of these, what do you call them, progressive think tanks and CREW, C-R-E-W. I'm sure you've heard that. Okay, that's Noah Bookbinder. And that's Senator Leahy's former law clerk that heads that up. That's the DNC's legal hit squad on the Republicans. We all know that's a fact. And Richard Painter's running for Al Franken's seat in Minnesota right now. You don't want to let that prick anywhere near fucking Congress. He went into Congress last year and tried to make what he called the Presidential Transparency Act. Okay, and he had it heard in, what do you call them when they do their hearings? I can't remember if it was Ways and Means. No, I don't think it was that. But it was one of the little outfits. And if it hadn't been for Senator or Representative King putting Painter in a corner and said, look, I'm an accountant, and everything that Trump's tax returns would be on their disclosure statement when he ran for president. And Painter was pissed. Okay, now he's also James Comey's buddy. He was 4 seats over from him in the hearing. And Comey had met with Mueller 2 weeks before he testified before Congress. So I think Mueller helped Comey write his memos. Because at one point when this all began, I can't count how many senators said that Comey was meticulous about keeping notes. Okay, well, where's Obama notes? Where's Bush notes? Where's any notes that have to do with anyone except Trump? I'm sure he's got notes with everybody he met because they all said he was meticulous. Now all of a sudden he didn't keep any notes with Obama. This thing stinks, guys, from start to beginning. Beginning to end. See, that's my chemo brain, so I'm going to have to quit this here pretty quick. But all these questions are just absolutely mortifying. If I'd have wrote these questions and given them to my teacher in any of my legal classes, he would have thrown me out and told me to go pound sand because they're the most ignorant, open-ended, self-trapping questions you can ask. During a 2013 trip to Russia, what communication and relationships did you have with the Angoloryevs and any Russian government officials? I don't know. I don't remember. I know I was there for the beauty contest. Other than that, there was nothing special. We had cocktails. And by the way, what does this have to do with me as president? I don't know. That's a stupid question. What discussions did you have during the campaign regarding U.S. sanctions towards Russia? Well, it looks like Trump's been harder on Russia than any of the ass kissers before him. So anyway, I just thought I'd do a little deal on this and tell you guys they're trying to railroad Trump. Democrats are in trouble. They know they obstructed justice at every fucking corner, from Comey to Brennan to Clapper to Adam Schiff to Jackie Spear to John McCain to Obama to Hillary. I mean, you'd have to build another prison just for this last administration, because there's got to be 125 of these dirty motherfuckers still hanging out. And I'm sorry for cussing, but I am sick of this. And if they even try to fuck Trump over and get him impeached, you think you Democrats are going to get voted into office? What are you, fucking insane? You'll be lucky if we don't burn your fucking houses down, because America is tired. This is why we voted for Trump. We are tired of you guys. Every last one of you crooked sons of bitches. We're sick of you. So, anyway, it's not a threat. It just, you know, it just drives me insane that they think the American people and that we're stupid and we don't see what they're doing. You know, anybody who pays attention to this knows this has been a witch hunt. This has been as crooked, as corrupt individuals and investigations as you possibly could get. This makes Watergate look like a fucking walk in the park. So, anyway, with that, I'm going to quit for now because my chemo brain's taken over and I'm getting pissed off. And I'm going to listen some more, and maybe I'll add to this in a little bit.